Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening to this information is not expected, but I think it's important that I cover this in the podcast for everybody listening because I know it's been a polarizing topic recently with our coverage of liberal financial freedom, and we were one of the first to cover liberal. And the response from most of the community was that people felt that liberal was a scam and that TITANO was the future and that TITANO was really the way to go and that TITANO had better fundamentals to it and was more trustworthy. And I wanted to bring to attention something that happened. It looks like yesterday, according to the timestamps I'm seeing, this happened yesterday with TITANO. And I'm quoting straight from the message here, and I'll have it as one of the screenshots on the video when this goes to YouTube. But ultimately, the TITANO team in their contract had a function that allowed them to blacklist, which is common in contracts, and they made use of this to blacklist one of their whales by definition. So I want to describe how this works because arguably every token struggles with this. They did a fair launch with theirs, so they didn't do the pre-sale, they did the fair launch approach. And in the fair launch, they had whales that were created, and some of them they bought a lot. At the time, it wouldn't have been a significant amount of money, but the truth is, Titano's growth was so substantial that they were able to turn, $16,000 or so into millions and millions of dollars. And once this person hit that peak, then they started dumping the holdings. And this person in particular that they were talking about, they had distributed across multiple wallets. So what they did is they basically compounded their own holdings by investing multiple times across multiple wallets, and then they started dumping and, of course, trashing the price. This correlates to the graph movement that I saw with Titano, where I was a bit skeptical as to what was going on. I didn't realize that there was whale dumping that would directly be able to impact it to that degree because I was under the impression that Titano had anti whale, and so the multi wallets might have been an effort to avoid any anti wallets in place, either that or the anti whale in working. So the Titano team, which looks like it's in Discord, according to the screenshots, they made the decision to blacklist the whale, block out and freeze all their wallets, treat it like a burn, so that they were not able to do the dumps, and then they were going to upgrade the smart contract to make some changes to avoid this happening in the future, as well as remove the tax changes, the minting of tokens, which is another problem that was in their contract. I wasn't aware of this, and of course, minting tokens. That means that they could basically increase the supply at will, meaning it's not truly deflationary. And then, of course, the removal of the ability to whitelist and blacklist, and pretty much isolate themselves from any future decisions and being able to do this. Um, I don't have a stake in Titano. I never did. I felt that it was not the right project, and when I looked at it, liberals seem to, as I've said repeatedly, seem to have solved the problem of loss of value. Liberals down now, but of course it's down because Binance, Ethereum, and Bitcoin have been trending downward. Binance has held the line a little bit, but of course Binance is in certain ways pegged to Ethereum, and so Ethereum going down has harmed Libero's price, but there hasn't been excessive sell pressure on the Libero side anywhere close to what I saw on Titano. So when they gave this message to the community, they felt that, this guy's not going to be able to sell or buy or transfer the tokens, locked forever, considered as a burn from circulation. So that's a bit concerning that they would do it, but also that they could do it. So they felt like, okay, this is the last time it's going to happen. It was the first and only time that we did it, but the function's still there, and that means they could do it again. The people are really upset because they feel like, hey, the whale's the whale. They bought in, they got what it is, and they should be able to cash out. So I know that there's two sides of the aisle in this conversation about whether or not a whale should be able to damage a product. I frankly put it on the Titano devs for not anticipating this could happen, for not anticipating that you could have a situation where a whale is dumping. And again, I was pretty sure they have anti-whale mechanics, but they clearly didn't work. If they have anti-whale, they didn't work. So then you have to start thinking about, well, what is the better answer? And I've mentioned this on before of what is the right way to do anti whale without completely trashing a whale that just had the right timing and the right opportunity and did what they were supposed to do. Like, could you imagine the person who put $23 into SHIB and then became a multimillionaire just being blocked from withdrawing it? It's unheard of. And in the mainstream outside the crypto bubble, that company would not be allowed to do that. That would not be allowed. You would not be able to just completely totally block. Of course, you have the Robinhood. I'm talking about If you trade stock in a company, this company themselves, they can't just take your money for the stock and give you nothing. You're buying an interest in the company. This is acting like an exchange where they're just going to do a halt because they want to try to protect the majority, right? The Spock approach. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And so it's kind of a mixed opinion. It's like, okay, we're yes, we appreciate you trying to protect, but at the same time, this is kind of concerning that you're not only able to do it, but that you're willing to do it. And then if somebody else did that, maybe this becomes a trend, and that would be troubling because it means that there really be no reason to buy into those tokens that have the opportunity to make you a millionaire. Now, I also, again, I blame the team because they didn't anticipate this could happen. And how do you manage it and mitigate it to where you don't have unsustainable growth? This goes to the conversation I said about growth that is just unsustainable. You see, it's just growing, growing, growing. This is a risk that can happen. It's a realistic risk, and there's not really much you can do about it. In hindsight, we can talk about whether it's the right or wrong or whatever. And the new contract allegedly they're just going to basically yank pretty much every right that they have. No increase of taxes, no minting tokens, no whitelist, blacklist. They won't be able to do anything. Okay, I don't think that solves the problem. I think you're running from the problem, um, because you don't want that. You don't want that onus. You don't want to be the one that's pointed at. Well, that's just going to make you look worse because this person's losing out on a lot of money that they essentially were entitled to, and you're ducking the smoke. That's my stance on it, although I understand why they're doing what they're doing. So that's Titano. It's a ongoing situation as I understand it. People say they should be able to talk to this person and just do it basically a peer to peer kind of come to a deal like what's fair. We can't pay you the full because it would kill the project, kill the business. But can we meet peer to peer as an OTC as they call it and make you a deal to try to make it right for you without harming the project? I actually agree with that. But the problem with these cryptos is that because it's not a DAO, you don't have any voting rights. So it doesn't matter what you think, the devs will just go and do their own thing. This is the problem with devs going off and just doing a thing without engaging the community. I had the same complaint about Affinity, not for this situation, but just devs to just go off and do a thing. And they don't listen to the voices of the investors telling them, we don't agree with this. And as an investor, you are their boss. And they should not just arbitrarily take a one sided action like that. We understand why they did, but at the end of the day, we think the investors should have a voice and they should be able to say, yes, we are supportive of this as a group, collective, or no, we don't support it. And I think the best way to do it at a minimal is to work with that person and try to see how we can meet you halfway in the interest of the project so that we're not directly harming sentiment. Because the fact that they did it, we don't know how many others that's happened to that just weren't reported. These guys just happened to talk about it. So again, this is not about Libro versus Titano, and then of course we got Fino coming out, and I looked at Fino and I'm laughing at it, but it's not about that. It's the bigger picture of cryptocurrency and devs that just take an arbitrary one-sided decision, although in the best interest of the project, which is technically their job when they own that. But I don't think the right answer is to just completely blacklist people either. I think it's problematic and it sets a bad precedent, in my opinion.